Hello and welcome to the Pickup WNBA podcast. I'm your host, Cathryn Freddie.
And I'm your other host, Freddie Rivas. What's up?
And this is episode 105, baby.
Woohoo! 105. Follow us on all of your socials at the Pickup WNBA pod. Twitter, Insta, YouTube. Comment, like, subscribe. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are still calling it Twitter. Yeah.
I think I will forever. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. It just feels like, you don't want to join in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like every time it's like, hey, do you want more access for a blue check mark? I'm like, absolutely not. I'm like, I might not be as strong-willed advocate as I want to be, but I will not be a full-on trader. You know what I mean?
There we go.
Yeah, that's my line.
Yeah, maybe, we're 1 minute in. We're a little politically charged here.
Yeah, we're fighting.
Love it. Okay, lots to talk about this week. We've got some WNBA stuff. We've got some NCAA stuff as well. Freddie's fun question per usual.
Woo.
But we're gonna start off talking about an interview that Candace Parker did recently.
Mm-hmm.
And she was on a podcast talking about, the growth of the WNBA and the NCAA in this last year. And, she definitely has some interesting insights, especially because she's Candace Parker.
Yeah.
And also, this was the first year, that she retired and didn't play professionally. So it's kind of interesting that she's been like, holding up the league for so long and then didn't really get to be a part of this amazing wave. Mm-hmm. But anyways, we have a clip here and I'm going to attempt technology, which is a big deal for me, everyone. Thank you. And we're going to play this clip. So let's give it a whirl.
And so what's your role in that?
I think my role in that is understanding through past growth. And that's why everybody was yelling from the rooftop, WNBA, blah, blah, blah. It's 28 years young. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of leagues that it took to year 30 to really make a growth. So it's coming, whether it comes at 28, 29, 31, and we've seen it. The crazy thing that I think it's little fixes, and this is where my role is to question and to push and to encourage. ABC, it was the first time they put the women's NCAA game on ABC. Was the first year that Caitlin Clark made the championship game. Are you surprised that the viewership was up? Are you surprised that people actually saw the product? It was buried for so long on ESPN. There's so many times during the NCAA game and even WNBA playoffs, I turn on, the NBA doesn't want to clash with NFL playoffs or NFL opening week. So why would we then put the WNBA, I don't care if that's the time slot that they're giving you. Let's fight for another one or let's find something else. And I think with streaming, with social media, now it's more front and center. You're seeing the leaders of, and I'm sorry, I'm passionate about this. So,
Go.
So now you look at statistics within social media and following, and it's Paige Bueckers. She had more followings than Suggs, who was a top 4 pick. She had more following than Anthony Edwards when he was coming into the league. So now you're able to look at social media and see what the following is, the clicks, the likes, what they're selling, what people are looking for. And you're now able to see that, okay, wait, women can sell things. And I think that is my role, is to continue to push the envelope of what that looks like, of visibility, but also like having relationships to be able to build what you're trying to build.
There we go.
And I think this means we can list Candace Parker as a guest on the show, right?
Yeah, with Prime Minister Trudeau and Candace Parker and LaChina Robinson.
So well spoken. What jumps out to me, I mean, there's so many incredible points packed into 2 minutes, but the WNBA is really lucky to have an ambassador like Candace, who's going to be very visible post-career is a household name, is an absolute legend, and can go onto a platform with, A-Rod and who's the other guy?
I don't know.
Yeah, I forget, whatever. But
There's always like an athlete and then just like a white guy that helps them with the
a dude, yeah. I know.
podcast.
It's such a trope. Oh my God. But yeah, she's incredible. I mean, so many, I don't want to just like jump over all the points, but like, let me say, like, one, I think that just comes off as so poignant is that the W has been buried. And there's this kind of chicken and egg thing where haters will say things that amount to, it doesn't have the popularity or the money, and why should players want more if it's not successful, without acknowledging the hurdle of actually being given an opportunity. And I think we've seen that with the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese phenomenon, is that yes, those two players deserve just mountains of credit, which they're getting, but they also were given this platform that previous, female basketball players were not.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I really appreciate with Candace, like you said, is that like this has nuance to it, which is in part why, it was nice to be able to play the full clip. As well, too, I feel like, I think back to the summer and like what Cheryl Swoops was saying about Caitlin Clark, and I feel like, this is a much more positive
Yes.
approach to this whole thing. You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, all of this has happened, but how do we move forward? How do we show all these companies that like, this is profitable, let's, stop discounting us. Let's, essentially saying that she's making it, part of her life's mission here to, continue to put this sport on the map. And I'm like, that is just so beautiful to me, and I really appreciate her having this like sort of, still being critical of media as they deserve to be, but still being like positive and open-minded about like what we can turn this into as time goes on.
Yeah. And one point I thought was incredible as well is, and you don't see a lot in media, is calling out something directly. And anyone that is a multiple sports fan knows that the NFL is wildly more popular than any sport in North America. It's not even close. Even if the NBA has surpassed the MLB as like the number 2 sport, the gap between 1 and 2 is gigantic. And every major league avoids the NFL. And, even things like the NFL saying like, hey, we're going to start doing Christmas. That's a nightmare for the NBA, because the NFL doesn't have to avoid anything. You have to avoid the NFL to max out your ratings. And I'll cop to it. I've even said things probably on this podcast that like, hey, the WNBA NFL crossover probably isn't substantial enough to avoid the NFL. So you might as well have all these games on a Sunday. Well, having someone like Candace say that, basically call that a bullshit point, it obviously, she knows more than I do. So it makes me think, hey, if you can get a certain small percentage of NFL fans or people who would be watching at the NFL on Sundays and get them to watch the WNBA, and also have these major networks carry the games. Maybe you less of like, hey, all these WNBA games on a Sunday, you're going to be watching it on like Amazon and Google and YouTube and like all these CBS. It's like, yeah, well, that's because, ABC, NBC, TNT, ESPN, they're all going to carry the NFL. So, and she even elaborated to say, yeah, this is like the lot we've been given in life. This is our schedule lot. But why is that just a fact of life?
Yeah, why are we settling for this? I remember there was like a major playoff game and it started at like noon. Do you remember that? It was like not this year, like last year or 2 years ago. And I remember thinking, like, what a crazy time for such an important game. But it just felt like, oh, that's the only time slot we can get. But she's right, with streamers and, you know, their relationship with Amazon, etc. It's like, why are we, you don't have to settle for these times anymore. And, you know, just to piggyback off of what you're saying, it's especially like, I don't know if brave is too strong of a word, but for her to call out people like ABC, because ABC and ESPN are all owned by Disney. And she's a broadcaster with ESPN sometimes and with NBA TV, you know, so her relationships with these people are really important. So I do think that's like, you know, commendable.
Me too. And it's kind of like this, it's a sophisticated maneuvering and kind of gentle but clear pushback on accepted narratives. I love that aspect to it. And I think that's one thing me and you have talked about so much about you, whether it's the amount of money the W makes, you know, what they're fighting for, ownership that is kind of cheap versus ownership that's like bolder and wanting to spend more. It's so hard to kind of rail against accepted truths that you don't fully believe in. And unless you challenge them and say, hey, you know, we were given an opportunity. It's not like we weren't good. And it's also not framing it around herself. She's not saying, I resent the fact that I was not given an opportunity to play in front of America. And my rookie season, which is the best rookie season of all time, was not viewed, you know, with the same sort of momentum. She doesn't have to say that. That's implied. And I think that she's being a larger spokesperson. Now I'm picking back off your kind of Cheryl Swoops stuff. And this isn't, by the way, I'm not trying to relitigate the Swoop stuff. I just feel like she is speaking, Candace is speaking to this larger idea of people who've paved the way for the league and where the league's at now. And yeah, you don't want to look back and just be angry, but you also want to say what you're saying about Caitlin and Angel and just the league only matters right now. That's a partial truth.
Absolutely. Should we move on to NCAA?
Yeah. Let's do it.
So, you know, this season has kind of just started, which is very exciting. And one thing Freddie and I decided to do was Freddie picked a game. I picked a game. Obviously, there's more than 2 games going on, but, you know, we wanted to kind of focus in on some of the higher profile players here. But then as the season progresses, we'll probably pick like different teams and stuff like that. So this is just to start. And we're going to tell each other how it went. So, Freddie, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I feel like it's going to be a fun learning process for us. And let me just say to, you know, our listeners, if there's a player or a team where you're like, hey, I want you to talk about this player, this team, they're special, shoot us a message. We're in this. I think this is the first time that we're really digging in to the NCAA, you know, as it pertains to the W, but just in
especially
general.
This early, like we've kind of covered like March Madness a bit, but and Final Four stuff. But but now we're like, because we're committed to like keeping the podcast rolling, even during the off season, that like we're starting early this time.
So my player was JuJu Watkins, who won't be eligible for the W next year, but is a rightfully so a major name in college basketball. So she actually had 2 games. I watched I watched both, and I'll just list off some stats. Like so first game was against California. The name's hilarious. The Cal Poly Mustangs, which is just, I don't know if you know what that name is about. Cal Poly Mustangs.
Oh,
so if you have any more info on that team name, shoot me a message because that's hilarious. But yeah, so full blowout, 90-35. And So she was in the kind of first part of the game, and then obviously was resting quite a bit. So 16 points, 6 rebounds, and assists, 2 steals, 4 blocks, and was 0 for 3 from 3. But and then game 2, 27 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 5 blocks,
that's
9
huge.
turnovers, which you gotta
5
acknowledge.
blocks.
And that was a nail biter against Ole Miss, who's ranked quite high as well.
Old Miss?
Yeah, Ole Miss, like OLE Miss, Ole Miss Rebels.
What city is that or state?
I think it's Mississippi. If you're an American and you're laughing at me guessing, I'm gonna Google where Ole Miss is from. I assume Mississippi. Ooh, busted.
Because I
But,
know this seems more by like the actual city or state than like their team name in the NCAA. You know what I mean?
where
I feel
is
like the
Ole
team
Miss?
names are
Yes.
very secondary.
Woo.
There you
University of Mississippi.
go. There you go.
I
I was like, what's Ole Miss?
I mean, we're gonna have to dig into some of these college names because there's a lot of
what's
history there.
So it's the Mississippi. What's the team name? Official, like.
Just their Ole Miss Rebels.
Oh, okay. So they're the old Mississippi Rebels, but they probably just say the latter half.
Yeah, and I know because my father-in-law is big into football. Like, if you say Ole Miss, everybody knows what you're talking about.
Right.
So we're just being very Canadian right now by being like, "Oh, who's Ole Miss? Is that
I apologize.
do
but
they belong?
I wanted to understand.
Hey, this is part of the game.
I was like, what's Old Miss? Anyway,
Ole Miss River.
I wouldn't survive south of Philadelphia, probably.
Yeah, we are north of the Mason-Dixon line and north of the border in Canada.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
this was an absolute nail biter. So she played the whole game, and my major takeaways, again, I've seen JuJu Watkins play before, but now that I was kind of like zeroing in, is the explosive athleticism. So if you're a W fan and you're like, this is like sort of an on the fly comp, but like I'm thinking like Kalia Copper, I'm thinking Agumake, like full on like fadeaways, just like if somebody beats her, she can recover, block them. She is like a full package. Like again, these are just judging from 2 games, but JuJu Watkins is going to be a superstar. Like looks like a future MVP in the W. Like I am understanding watching her why people are so excited so early, even though she's far away from being in the W, because it's like child's play out there. Like her team's great, but no one can stop her. She's 6'2", incredibly strong.
I mean, to be 6'2" and have 5 blocks, is that what you said? 5
blocks.
Incredible.
And like a lot of them are perimeter blocks. Like she's just faster, more explosive. I mean, I'm really excited to see as the season goes along how defense is kind of like keying on her and like where she struggles, because right now it doesn't seem like she does struggle at all. She shot 1 for 4 from 3 in her second game, so maybe that's a weakness. I don't know. Yeah, she's nuts.
Probably, but she's got time to figure that out.
Mm-hmm.
Exciting stuff. Okay. I have UConn, and obviously looking at the great Paige Bueckers, they were playing against the Boston University Terriers. So Freddie,
ooh, the Terriers,
it's
be
just
afraid.
two dogs going at it, Huskies and Terriers. So Freddie, UConn had 42 points at the half. Can you guess how many points Boston had at the half?
Oh, I feel like I know where this is going, and it's not 41. I guess that they had 25 points.
You're on the right track, but that is incorrect. They had 10 points.
Oh my God.
at the half.
Did they get 5 a quarter?
Collectively as an entire team.
That's insane.
They had 6 points in the first quarter and only 4 points in the second
Oh my God.
quarter. So they did go on a bit of a run at the end of the third. The final score is 86-32. UConn just dominated them in every which way possible. So, Paige's stats, she had 13 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, in 24 minutes.
Right. So she must have been rested pretty quick.
Yeah, they didn't need to play her down the stretch of this game in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, UConn, my God. I mean, it was almost so we're recording this Sunday morning, so they have another game later this afternoon. And this episode comes out Monday, so I'm only able to analyze the one game. It's like it was almost hard to gauge because this Boston team, respectfully, just it's like 2 different leagues playing against each other. You know what I mean? Like it just is what it is. They showed up, they tried it. And I feel like I don't, obviously this team is gonna look phenomenal against Boston, but this UConn team has yet to be challenged as of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
But they looked as a whole team, like it wasn't just Paige, like as a whole team looked absolutely phenomenal. And I would be shocked as hell if they weren't in the Final Four. Sarah Strong, 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, also in 24 minutes.
What's she all about?
She's a forward. She was really good. Like her game in this game looked very versatile. You know what I mean? There were a lot of really strong 3-pointers that were hit, a lot of strong cuts to the basket, just looked super versatile. But I have yet to see more about what this team can do. But the fact that they've dominated this much is just absolutely crazy. Jana Alfie, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing that. 17 points, 1 assist, 11 rebounds in 17 minutes.
Oh my God. 11 rebounds in 17 minutes? Disallowed.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the stats on this game are so off the charts that it's like,
yeah,
I don't even know how to gauge
so
how great or not great anyone is, because it was just like a real no contest kind of scenario.
While you were talking about this blowout, and I was thinking about my blowout, I looked at the very early NCAA rankings, right? I think this is why, as we kind of get more familiar with the flow of the NCAA, this is why these rankings are so important and why these huge matchups are big indicators. Like obviously March Madness, there's, all sorts of upsets and that sort of thing. But recruiting is a big deal. And the analysts, they have a good idea of who is going to be a power team. Like for instance, Texas is ranked number 4 and they haven't played a game yet. And the 2 teams that we saw that were blown out, they're not in the top 25. UConn's number 2, South Carolina's number 1, and USC Trojans, who JuJu plays for, are number 3. So we just saw 2 top 3 teams annihilate teams that are not even in top 25. Ole Miss, by the way, is number 20. So that makes sense why I was like, okay,
yeah.
Number 3 versus number 20. It's a tight game. Like these are good teams. But yeah, it's hard to analyze.
Yeah.
This like just absolute powerhouse just decimating the Terriers.
Decimating Boston, yeah. So we'll see how things progress in the weeks to come.
Yeah.
Okay. Other WNBA news. Patrick Maholmes of the Kansas City Chiefs, is it? I don't watch football.
Yep.
And his wife, Brittany, are considering putting together a bid for a WNBA franchise in Kansas.
Yes.
So, that's in and of itself sounds great. The sort of downside to this is, and I looked this up to be more specific, Brittany Maholmes is a Trump supporter. She came out in support of Trump. And then Patrick Mahomes said he was not going to endorse a presidential candidate. So,
and his mom also in the past couple of days has endorsed Trump as well.
Yeah, so you can connect the dots there.
Yeah.
But so I guess it's like the WNBA is a political league. We are not afraid to be political on this podcast. We have before, we will be again. And there's been a lot of talk over the years. There's a lot of like, newer listeners who might not be aware of this, of like racist ownership and things like that, and like a concerted effort to kind of move that out of the league because it is not in the best interest of the players, of the fans, etc. This happened. I should have done more research on this. This happened with the Atlanta Dream a few years back, I believe in 2020, where their ownership gave up the team and new ownership took over, and there was a controversy around racism. And then it just gives you the ick when it comes to quote unquote ownership, right? Like, and so I guess the question is like, as much as we would love a city like Kansas to have a team, is it worth it to have these Trump supporters be a part of the league? Is that it? And also, is that the question? You know what I mean? Like, is that all there, because I feel like as I'm saying that out loud, I'm almost like oversimplifying it. And I don't mean to do that.
No, I think you did it quite clearly. And I feel like this is the murkiness, right? Where this is where politics comes in and values play a big role. And if you're someone who says, hey, money is money, I don't care where the money comes from, I don't care where the support comes from, that's a line. And then if you're someone who's sort of like, hey, we can get money that is more in line with the values of the league, that is important. Let's say, so I looked at some of the Mahomes quotes, and he's been trying hard to get more sports in Kansas for a long time.
Oh, so just more sports in general.
Yeah, he's very happy about the women's soccer team being, and he also sort of has that like, I want my daughter to see professional sports as a lane. I know. Does he now? You care about your daughter. Interesting. But yeah. And God, to make it like all, just so we're not dancing around this. Yeah, we are quite political. I have a feeling I know where Cathryn's coming from, but I'll speak for myself. I'm certainly not conservative, and I'm very much against Trump. And if you're a Canadian listener, I'm very much against Pierre Poilievre. But yeah, and
such a wannabe. Oh my God.
Yeah, if you're American, you're like, Pierre what? If you look up the spelling, it's even more confusing. Poilievre. It's a thing. But anyhow, here's what's tough for me, right? So Brady, a known Trump supporter, he's part of Vegas, and when it comes to big money, like we don't have we don't have the eyes on every ownership of the W. We don't know who supports who endorses who. And where I get stuck is, does new ownership have to pass this value test to get into the W? Does the old ownership already in there get a hall pass? And I that's where I don't have a full answer to this, but I do think, and I was just a bit of a meandering point here, but the reason I brought up the Mahomes quote is that he wants more sports in Kansas, but also there's Philly, and was it Denver? There was Philly, Kansas, and I'll find it, but there's another sort of pretty big contender to get a team. Oh, St. Louis, that was the team. So for me, if it's apples to apples and you have 3 equal ownerships and one of them is a supporter of women's rights, they get the edge. You know what I mean? They have to get the edge. It's a female league. It's a black
That's
league.
curious. Would they get the edge? Would they get the edge? That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, like you can't Freddie, you brought up a lot of great points. Like you can't just say like you can't be a part of this league based on your political beliefs, because that becomes its own discrimination.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's such a weird, confusing conflict of interests that boggles my mind. You know, like it has to just be about money then, right? Because I don't understand being like, I want to be a part of the WNBA. You know what I mean? But also, like, I don't share this league's values, or maybe I just don't care about certain values.
Yeah, or
like,
maybe values are just money, right? For some people.
Maybe values is just money. And that's like deeply cynical, but also just a very real possibility. I will say I like the idea of Kansas having a WNBA team, right? Like, you know, all of that aside, Kansas is a very popular NCAA state.
Mm-hmm.
And they do really get into basketball there, and they don't have a team. And I like the idea of the WNBA having teams that aren't necessarily affiliated with an NBA team. You know,
I agree.
So I think like just from that perspective, I like Kansas having a team. And I also think too, like for all these, you know, conservative, you know, red states, whatever you want to call it, there's certainly a lot of blue within all of them.
That's right.
I think like it would be good for people in those areas to have a professional women's basketball team, and for those young kids to look up to. So there's just so many reasons why I think Kansas actually having a team is really good. But it just, you know, it's the majority of the country that voted for this man. We're all really confused about it. I'm obviously not consuming the propaganda that they are. Not all of Americans, just, you know, those supporters. And so it's a real head scratcher to me. And I feel like everyone is trying to make sense of what's happened and why it's happened and this, that, and the other. And, you know, it's probably something we're going to be dissecting for a very long time. But I don't like this like infiltration of Trump support in the league. I don't think that's good for literally anybody. But at the same time, it's like, is anyone in a position to say no? Or are we, you know what I mean? Like, I just don't think, not that the league doesn't have any power or say, but it's like, I don't know. How are you turning it down? Can you turn it down? Would you turn it down?
And is the messaging clear when you do turn it down? Because I think having, you know, it's obviously anecdotal, but I have American family. And I think, like you said, lots of blue and lots of red everywhere. And I think this is a bit of a message to Canadians, but I think when you describe such a massive amount of people, whether it's like Republicans or Democrats or Americans or Canadians, you're getting into really general territory. And I know families that vote blue and red. So it does also matter that he himself has not come out in any direction, right? Because as much as it's like, hey, it's your mom and it's your wife, it's like, yeah, but it's not you. And you can't say for sure. You just can't. And another thing is, and this is like cynical of me personally, but we talked about earlier in the podcast, the NFL is like the biggest thing, and there's just no replacing that. So you have the most famous current superstar of the NFL being an owner in the W. Like that is a gigantic endorsement.
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I mean. It's like, how do you say,
it's
you
hard to
can't say no.
quantify how big of a deal that is. How many people do you have who maybe perhaps, projecting here, but perhaps didn't respect the W, weren't interested in it, looking at a Maholmes endorsement and saying, that's interesting.
Yep.
He likes it. Maybe
Great
I'll check
point.
it out.
Maybe the good outweighs the bad, I think.
Yeah. And,
Possibly.
for our listeners who are like, whoa, this we really got into it. We love doing this. And I also don't, portend to have like an exact measure on the pulse. I feel like these issues are fluid, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're, I think because in part the WNBA is political. And, we went through it a bit, post pandemic. We went through it with Brittany Griner. We're not afraid to be political, and we are progressive and, are very pro equality here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also I'm pro figuring things out.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not a no politics at the dinner table person. Like I don't think that's healthy for anybody.
Same. Freddie, is it time?
It's time
for your fun question.
Pretty fun question. Here we
Switching
go.
gears here.
What's that?
It says we're switching gears here.
We're switching gears big time. So getting a lot of press. Caitlin Clark playing for the LPGA. And we'll see how good she is. She's an incredible athlete. I imagine she would be pretty good. It's gonna be really, really cool and interesting. And it wasn't something I was fully expecting. Like that was, it's not a surprise that she's good at other sports, but a surprise that it's like, whoa, this is such a big story.
She's like, I'm a freak of nature. I know it. What up?
Fair enough. Well, that's a good transition. So other, athletes are like most of these, like, we see them playing their professional sport, but most of them are like really multi-sport talented. And it made me think, Cathryn, who's another W star you could see playing in a different sport, thriving in a different sport? Who are they? What's the sport?
Okay, Freddie, you're gonna have to go first on this.
Okay, so I'm happy to riff here a bit, but the first person I'm like, this is my number one answer, and I'm just going through like athleticism and in this scenario, height. So got to go Brittany Griner volleyball.
Oh yeah.
Tell me she wouldn't be an incredible, and she's not just tall, right? She's mobile. She's like, could you imagine trying to?
Yeah, she's very athletic.
Spike over Brittany, or having Brittany spike on you?
You would be on the ground.
You like, and I get that there's a lot of like setting and the blah 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 and all this stuff, but like being tall in volleyball is a major asset, and I would expect that she would be a dominant volleyball player.
Oh, that's a great pick. You had some funny ones before we started recording. Do you want to share those?
Oh yeah, I got those all day. Vandersloot and the luge. Let's go. Steph Dolson shot put.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
She's got some strength. She's got reach.
Good. That's good.
I didn't say this one, but Diana Taurasi, archery. Come on.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Or that, like, the gun sport. I don't know guns. I'm so Canadian. I don't know guns. The gun
anything
sport.
Where it's like you need a little bit of like that deep anger, Taurasi's got you covered. Because she would be like, yeah, I'll hit the mark.
Like, she'd look so badass doing it too. Still has the bun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, so good. Love all that. I thought about Courtney Williams and jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that's a great one.
She'll tackle you, baby. She'll tackle you. And
I feel like she'd be fast and like rangy. She'd probably be good at boxing too.
Yes. Yeah, she would also be great at boxing.
Like she has that side to side sort of.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a fantastic one.
Yeah. Yeah, you're just not gonna win a fight against her. That was what I thought of. I also thought, and this is a bit presumptuous on my part, but I was thinking about Jonquel Jones
Mhm.
being from the Bahamas, and
Mhm.
would she be like a fast swimmer, or could she do like a marathon where they're like running and then jumping in the ocean and then running again and then riding a bike? Like I thought maybe Jonquel Jones could destroy that.
I just love your idea of a marathon as someone like doing a cannonball in the ocean.
They do. They jump
No, I know.
jump like off like a pier into
Yeah.
like the dirtiest water on the planet. And then they're just like, huh, huh, huh.
Yeah, that was such
That was me doing a very intense
Cathryn, you're
swimming
swallowing
stroke.
water.
No, but they do. It's like freestyle swimming, and they're chopping those waters.
Yeah.
They really are. It's an aggressive swimming stroke.
You got to imagine a high percentage of the league being good at long distance running.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Just their level of fitness.
Yeah, they could all long distance run for sure. Probably long jump too.
Long jump.
They could do they could do long jump. What's the thing? Oh my god, this is so funny. What's the thing? The high vault with the giant pole.
The pole vault?
The pole vault. Yeah.
Pole vault, yeah. Pole vault, high jump for sure.
Who could do a pole vault, do you think?
That's a good, because I feel like you got to be like tall and like lean.
Yeah, you gotta be both those things.
And sort of fast. Who's like what about like a Cameron Brink?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
She's also got like a pole vaulter's look somehow.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Looks like she could be part of that.
We haven't said angel yet. What's like angel sport?
Ooh. I'm gonna go equestrian.
Honestly, why not? That's incredible.
Yeah, look.
She would make equestrian, like people would start talking about it. It would be like
she would
it would be in fashion. Like
and like she'd dress up her horse.
Yeah.
And like, they'd be like coordinated.
Yeah.
But Angel could do a lot. Like, what else could Angel do? What's your suggestion for Angel?
Well, she's 6'3". She's like really explosive, really strong. I mean, I think a variety of like combat sports for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about sprinting, because sprinting specifically, it's very.
She's probably not the fastest runner.
Yeah, well, anyone in the W, like there's a lot of fast players, but sprinting is something where it's like so. I don't know. I think it's you don't get to use all of your athletic tools. It's just one. You know. I mean, I can't imagine she would be like. I feel like she'd be great at volleyball.
Yeah. Alyssa Peely. She could be a weightlifter, probably.
Oh yeah, she looks strong as hell.
Yeah, she looks like she could lift some weights.
Oh, I got it for Angel.
Mm.
She could be an incredible goalie in soccer.
Oh, yeah.
Think about like how her like sort of like quick twitch.
That's a good
reactions
one, for sure.
Like she hit the floor. She's 6'3", covers a lot of ground.
Yeah,
is unafraid.
Yeah. We only named one winter sport for Vandersloot.
Yeah. Well, I feel like Tarasi's got you covered. There's a bunch of gun-related winter sports too.
Are there?
Yeah, there's like ski around, shoot a squirrel. Like
stop. That's not a thing.
There's a bunch of that stuff in Winter Olympics. There really is. There's there's like go to a lodge, shoot a bunch, have a hot chocolate, ski down a hill.
That is not that's not a winter sport.
It's not, but there's
just hunting in general.
Yeah.
She could be on the TV show Alone. Have you watched Alone?
I love Alone. And
oh my god, really? We need to talk about Alone.
Okay, that's a future FFQ. Who's gonna win Alone? Don't tell me who you think, because we're doing that in the future.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Yeah. Alone is like the most intense thing.
It's one of my favorite shows. It makes other reality TV look like trash. Which is, I guess, kind of easy.
I love it. I love it.
Me too.
And I think about what I would do, even though I would be completely useless. Like if I trained for like a year, if I had the privilege of training for a whole year, I could do it.
Quick Alone joke. One of my favorite moments ever of Alone is like an early season. And to me, it's the most relatable person I've ever seen on the show. It's a guy who, like, if you don't know the show, you get sent to a remote place. You have to survive. It's like really, they have to film themselves. They get to bring 10 items. It's really, really hard. And there's this guy, like, for whatever reason, a lot of like Marines and like soldiers do bad. They're like, I fought in this war, and it's like, cool. You're alone, and you can't eat like a bunch of steaks every day, so you're in trouble. But this guy, I think he was like a veteran of some sort. He gets to where he's going, sets up camp. The sun is setting. He hears a bear in the distance, and he calls home. Like, he didn't even stay one night. It's the best. It's like, that would be me, by the way. Just so you know, I'm not tough.
But he didn't try to kill the bear.
No, he didn't even, like, sometimes people are like, there's a bear in the distance. That's scary. And he heard a bear and he's just like, hell no. Called the phone and like, and then he's like, come get me. And they're like, we just dropped you off. He's like, get me right away. And he didn't stay a night. And what's my favorite person. Like,
my favorite person, I forgot this guy's name, but he and he lasted a decent amount of time, like a few weeks, but I guess he was struggling to find food, and then he killed this squirrel, and then this is actually so sad, like I almost cried watching it, or maybe like I might have had like a single tear watching it, but basically like he killed this squirrel, and then he broke down crying, and he was like, I killed my only companion. Because this girl stopped laughing. I wasn't expecting I was so sad. He was like, that squirrel was my friend. And he went on and on and on about how he killed his companion. And then he like tried to stick it out another day and he couldn't do it anymore.
Nah.
And I was so sad for him. It was like Tom Hanks and like the Wilson ball or something.
Alone.
Like it was wild.
Alone breaks people, and I absolutely love it. Like, I don't love seeing them broken.
I can't believe you laughed.
It's just funny to me when people are like they're amazing survivalists, and like a couple weeks in, they're like, yeah, I miss my kids, and like being alone psychologically is like we're not meant to be alone, right? So people are just sort of like.
I always feel bad for the runner-up because it's like you went so long.
Yeah.
And they're usually like out like in the Arctic or something. Like a lot of these people are like, yeah, I've done stuff. And it's like, but if you've never been near the Arctic, like that cold will hit your body in a way that's like, you need to know what that cold feels like before you go, I think.
Yeah. They should send a bunch of comedians there.
We wouldn't.
Yeah, no one would. It would be like everyone would call home immediately.
I would do the contest with a bunch of comedians because they would all be weak as hell, and I'd only have to last like 7 days.
Oh, I'd be the first to go.
win.
I'd be like, I can't set up my tent. Let me come home.
You don't even have a tent. You have to build a shelter.
Done. I'm done.
They get like a tarp.
Yeah,
they don't even get a tent.
No, I'd be like, where's the hot shower? And they'd be like, there isn't one. I'm like, send me home.
If I only had to last 7 days to win, and it's like, $100,000 or $200,000, yeah, I'd do it for 7 days.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a life-changing amount of money.
It is, yeah. Maybe I would try it.
And I've camped. I used to be a Girl Guide. I know how to build a fire. I know I haven't had to build my own shelter though.
Yeah,
but
you'd be like, oh, I can't listen to Janet, and they'd be like, no, sorry. They'd be like,
wow, you think so little of me.
No, I think you'd be good. You're determined.
Yeah, but if I was with like really strong competitors, like the actual show, no way, because they last like months. Some of these people, they'll last like 2 to 3 months, like well into the winter. It's pretty daunting. Anyway, great show.
Impressive.
We just talked about the load
did
for
it.
like 5 minutes. Okay, we should wrap it up there. Thank you everyone so much for listening, for tuning in. Please remember to like, subscribe, write us a good review. We hope you're enjoying the WNBA offseason content and the start of the NCAA season. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Peace.
Bye.